I'm joined today by Alex from Stoic Conditioning, and we are going to talk a little bit about, their company, what they do, their purpose, all of that. So the first question I guess I have for you is, what is Stoic?
So Stoic is an online training app that we built specifically to guide people and help people train for military selection cycles. On top of that, we also have people who are potentially not aiming for a military selection cycle in particular, but they still want to have their fitness all year round. We have a lot of cycles that cater for that as well. So we kind of have that, people aiming for military selection cycles, and then people who are just wanting to maintain their fitness and build on their fitness all year round.
Okay, yeah, and so I used the app, and I discovered you guys a long time ago, and what was interesting to me was that they were curating programs for guys who are trying to attend selection, or even guys who have already been through the pipeline to maintain fitness.
Yeah.
So there's you have different selection types in the UK. Yeah. That's where you guys are based out of, and that's where they started focusing. So you have Royal Marine Commandos, UKSF, your para-regiment stuff. So they have different programs for all of that, but the magic is really in the data that you guys have collected on people who have been through those programs, right?
And just
how does that help you?
So that helps guide our training and basically helps reinform our original needs analysis. Okay. So, we do a needs analysis for any selection program that we've written.
Sure.
We'll talk to guys who are not only going through it, but have been through it, maybe even 2 years post reflecting on it. But also we try and look at the guys who are taking the training cadres and cadres and stuff like that, getting feedback directly from them about what they find a lot of candidates are deficient in. And then we can build that into the cycle. And then the data that we're getting from people who, are going through the app, putting in their data, and we can see that in the back. All of the data is not linked to people, so our app is completely security based.
Right?
But all of that reinforms how we write and how we build out the training cycles for each individual unit.
Because anybody could make an app that I can make up workouts and then build an app that you just replicate what I did and put your reps in or whatever and it tracks it. But what I don't have is that information that you're comparing me to in my testing piece of it.
Right? We're constantly evolving. That's one of the key things. We live in an age of AI where you can write me a selection cycle into AI and it will spit something out that you can follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But is it going to be good for you? Is it going to be good particularly, where are they getting that data from as well? Whereas everything that we design is based off of the needs analysis of the exact person, the exact avatar that's going through selection, and what we want them to actually evolve into after selection, rather than just, coming out the back of UKSF and having buggered knees and a busted back and stuff like that. We want to try and exceed their expectations for that as well.
Until they come out the other side not only victorious but also still in good shape. They're not broken from the experience.
That's it.
So how does it work in practice then? So we kind of talked about the idea is help guys with prep and then help them get through. Mm-hmm. But when it actually comes to, hey, I want to do it, what do they do?
So when they sign up, you'll be presented with a screen where you basically select your goal.
Okay.
And that will go through a big onboarding process as well, just showing you around the app and showing you how to get the best out of the app as well.
Okay.
And then what we always suggest people do is start with a test. If you're not testing, you're just guessing. So you got to go through the test, and the testing process will actually help inform the app as well. So especially when it comes to all the mobility that's built in the back end. If you've done the testing, it will be bespoke to you and your needs.
Okay.
But it will also give you a good anchor point to start from, to be so we break it down into strength, conditioning, and mobility markers, and you'll have a red, amber, green indication on that compared to all the metrics that we've collected. So say you're green in strength, but you're red in conditioning and say amber in mobility. It's you probably don't need to run the strength cycle. You could probably benefit more from being an all-round athlete by running the conditioning and focusing on your mobility.
So your conditioning cycle would still maintain my strength.
Absolutely.
But it would be progressing my stamina and conditioning.
That's it. So we've got our kind of strength biased cycle and our conditioning biased cycle.
Perfect.
We call them biased because we never like to split, especially for our population, our demographic, and who we're aiming to work with. Strength and conditioning need to be combined. You know, if you're just a strong unit, then
absolutely,
you can't run with that mass.
Exactly.
But equally, you know, if you're built like a racing snake, but you're not strong enough to shift load, then
you're not going to be able to.
You know, you're not going to be useful.
Okay. And so when I have my goal set, which I'll admit, I did it the first time I ran through a cycle. I didn't do the testing at all, which was a mistake. It was a huge mistake because I was basically just using the app for basically just track and exercise when I could just do that myself. The thing I was missing out was on the goal. So having the goal basically is going to show me comparatively, based on the information you've collected, where I stand with what we would consider to be, am I going to succeed or not? Based on what I'm telling that. Which I think is cool because every other app out there is basically, it's just a tracker. It really is. At the end of the day, it's just a tracker.
Just do this and hopefully you make it. Whereas we've collected a lot of the data of successful candidates on all different courses, put that into our algorithm, put that into our testing algorithm. So the data that you're actually getting out of our testing process, you know, if you are greenlit physically, then you're probably going to be successful from a physical point of view, but selection is more.
You can't test the mindset.
Exactly. But one of the biggest things we say is if you're going into a selection process just hyper-focused on the physical side of things, you're probably going to fail.
Absolutely.
But you need to have that level of physicality to then not worry about it, to then focus on all the psychological aspects and the mental aspects.
Of course, when you're tired, if you're being asked to run some more, but running is not really a thing that phases you, you're probably going to be able to make it.
It's very unforgiving on things like that.
And it affects your mental state if you're hurting. So another thing I noticed was the cycles focus on kind of, I would say, more traditional lifting methodology, like the big lifts, presses, squatting, deadlifts, that. Can you kind of just tell us like what your background and kind of why it's programmed that way?
So we always say the basics never go out of fashion. If you're ingraining fundamental movement patterns, layering on the conditioning on top of like solid foundations, you're always going to be successful. A lot of the strength and conditioning industry, a lot of the fitness industry is very fad based. It's like, I want to change program every week. I want to change, I don't want to do the same thing ever again. And it's like, that works for a certain demographic, but for our guys who need the persistence and the tenacity of adaptation in their body over a long period of time to callous their body to certain movement patterns, that's where we're going to be hitting like the big movement patterns. All of the volume is curated so that you're not going in and out, like straying in and out of that recovery.
Absolutely.
And it just builds as well. We have like a linear conjugated approach to our programming where everything will linearly increase. So you're always going to be doing more at the end of a cycle than you are at the beginning. But within that, we have like slight fluctuations, like month to month, week to week.
So you might notice a rep range changing or weight changing or something like that.
Or a particular movement might change, but the movement pattern stays the same.
It's the same. So another thing that I really like about you guys is you're not just in the UK anymore. You're trying to expand your, your curriculum or your programs to the US now. So what are some of the new programs that the US market could be looking at?
So we have 5 new programs that we just launched today, actually. So really excited to get it out and start helping the US market. We work with a lot of guys in the past based off of our original systems and like the UKSF programming, and we had a lot of guys who were going for SF selection and SFOD and ODD and stuff like that come to us and run that cycle successfully. But we wanted to really get over here and kind of work with guys that were going through that, work with the training teams over here and build out something specific for those courses.
Absolutely. Because they're all kind of different.
Exactly. There's like slight nuances between from program to program.
Absolutely.
Physically, you're still going to be needing to be robust. You still need a good engine. You still need good strength. But the nuances from training someone from MARSOC, from training someone for SFAS is going to be slightly different.
It's going to be different. I mean, a lot of movement patterns, and just like if I'm expected to swim a lot versus I'm expected to ruck march more.
Exactly.
It is different. I mean, there's different you may be the best at rucking, but not be able to swim at all.
That's it.
So,
Yeah. There's so many people that fail on such minutiae in terms of their selection process that they might have overlooked. You know, they're going through a swim-based selection process, but they haven't paid homage to the fact that they need to improve that skill.
Yeah.
Whereas we build that into the app, where it's like, you know, this is all volume controlled. You know, you're going to be periodized throughout your entire 16-week training cycle, and at the end of it, you're going to have enough pool time, but enough like strength time and conditioning time outside of that to be a good package.
Yeah. Well, military is not the only customer for this. You know, you have other cycles. You have a what do you call it? The wellness or
so our health and longevity.
Yeah,
approach.
health and longevity. Yeah. So that if you're out there and what I would recommend is if you're interested in this. I know a lot of guys contact us and talk about, hey, I'm like struggling to get back into it or whatever. I really think it's a good place to start. There's a lot of information. There's demonstrative videos for the exercise movements, so you're not just trying to guess on the proper way to do something. But I really do. If you stick to a cycle, you know, and you just go for it, you do your testing, and you go from beginning to end of that cycle, you're going to be unrecognizable at the end of it as far as your strength, endurance, and then also just how you feel about yourself physically, because it's real work doing the cycle. It is, again, back to that traditional, you know, movements and just putting in the work and showing up. And what I really enjoyed about it was there was not so much variation every day that, you know, some cycles I've done, it's like every single day and every week is different, and it takes up valuable time that you know, I'm trying to remember how to do some different kind of squat or something, which keeps things kind of interesting, but also I feel like it kind of burns me out too, because I start dreading that next day's cycle because I know it has all these exercises I haven't done in a while.
And it's really hard to actually track your progress at that point as well. If the movements are always changing, how do you know if you're actually getting better at that particular movement unless you've trained it for a couple of weeks in a row? You know, if you're going from like a front squat to a back squat, well, it's the same movement pattern, but they are different, and the weights that you're going to be using are different. So how do you know if you're improving one by training the other? And
and I can tell they're different because I definitely cannot front squat as much as I can back squat. So that's true. So you guys also do protein.
We do, So
it's delicious.
Another facet that we're building into is, you know, we're developing all of our services to kind of cater to that particular avatar. You know, that person that we really want to see successful, not just on a course, but successful in their health, longevity, and their career length as well. So with all of that, what we're building in the background is laboratory testing twinned with supplementation that's specific to the person. So we released last year a Stoic whey protein, which is kind of very much like in our niche, or very much in our brand, where it's like you everything that you need and nothing that you don't. You know, we very minimalist in our approach to things like that. You know, don't put any fillers in it if it's not needed.
100%.
So,
but it's so good. I'm serious. Like I ordered it, and now I ordered it because I was like, oh, I like the Stoic guys, but now I reordered because it doesn't taste bad. I mean, there's a lot of protein out there around. Really this is really gross. And, that's good. You guys also do really actually kind of high-end apparel stuff too. If you're interested, you know, you get the app, and now you're being very stoic in the gym. They have actually really nice apparel too, like your sweatshirt is like premium. There we go, a close-up shot of it. But I mean, so you have a gym. Can you talk about the gym some?
So at the moment we have a facility which is more of a studio, but we have a gym in it. So that's where we do all of our human performance research, and we get people in and do all the testing in there. But that's a lot of the production side of stuff happens out of there. We are looking at expanding in the future, so we have our eyes set on a big expansion this year. We've got a couple of things in
that's exciting.
The pipeline, which is going to be good.
I'm excited because it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the approach you're taking really is understanding the data, and not just kind of. I think there's a lot of dogma in fitness. You know, a guy will tell you, what did Sam say? He said, you know, drink a pint and eat chips every night before you go on the long walk. And it's like, well, that's not really, that's just like, it's dogma. It's not real. It's just something somebody said.
Hand-me-down advice.
But you guys are actually kind of creating a human performance ecosystem with supplementation, guidance, the trackability, goal setting, things like that. Which is all pretty cool.
One of my biggest my biggest background coming into this is, I've always wanted to cut through all the bullshit in the health and fitness industry. There is so much out there that, there's so much out there, so much information out there that it's hyper confusing for people. And it just leads people off the proven tracks of
hard work,
nailing the basics and doing the hard work.
Yeah, and that's really the end state is you have to show up and do it every day, or else it's not going to do anything.
The bar's not going to lift itself.
Yeah, it's there though if you do it every day.
Exactly.
So you have the Rangers. So you have RASP selection, SF selection,
MARSOC,
MARSOC,
USFO,
Buds,
DD.
And then if you're going to take the long walk on the special operations side, all have curated programs now on the app. So not just in the UK anymore. If you're in the US and you're looking at those organizations, I recommend signing up. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks.